About a little bit art and cultural situation and mood in the world. As a creator, what you bring into this mood and what is changing for you?
I'm a Canadian musician. I was born in Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. I now live in Toronto. Both my parents were born in Egypt, and they were both Armenian. My father's parents were orphans from the genocide, and my mother's grandparents left before it became too difficult in Armenia.
Do you know?
My mother's last name is Devletyan. My father's last name is Egoyan. And he changed it to Egoyan.
Yeah.
Both my parents are very interesting, actually, because they were painters, successful painters. And when they were in Egypt, they had a business that was both an art gallery as well as they created furniture, because they had a really great eye, and they were had a very modern sensibility. So they would create things for spaces. And then when they immigrated to Canada, my father decided to go to the west coast of Canada because he had already studied in Chicago and Berkeley, and he knew that the weather on the west coast was so much better than. So by doing that, he separated us from where most Armenians immigrate to in Canada, which is Montreal. So unfortunately for me, when they brought me up, because there were no Armenians around me, they decided to bring me up speaking English and French, because that is the second language of Canada. So now, as an adult, I am trying to learn Armenian. And I'm very, as an Armenian musician, I'm seeking, first of all, I continue the tradition of my parents, which is the curiosity about the contemporary. So I really want to bring my instrument, which is a Western classical traditional instrument, into the 20th century by performing works by living composers, but also by working with technology, and also creating work for myself. So, and one of the projects that is most recent is actually writing a piece for myself that's based on Armenian folklore, and I wanted to do this before I go to Armenia, just because it's there's a sense of it's hard to explain, but there's a sense of longing and dreaming and nostalgia for something that I don't really know anything about, that I think probably occupies this first piece, that might be different after I've traveled there.
Being in your professional, a very good point in your professional life, now you are studying Armenian language and also going to Armenian roots somehow because of the music. How this Armenianity, if we can say, came to you, and why? What do you think?
Okay, so I have have issues around a lot of the Armenian music that I've heard, like Khachaturian, and like I love Gomadas. I love the kind of more pure approach to the language. I really wanted to create something for myself that was not made heavy by European texture, like either Russian influence or whatever. So, and I hadn't been hearing that since Gomadas. So, for example, and also I'm learning the language because I find it very interesting to have it in my ears and how the language forms while I am actually writing Armenian music and also. So what I did when I'm writing the music is I'm taking parts, like fragments of the folklore. So it's hard to explain, but it's kind of a mind space. Like, so if how the music is formed by small cells, as well as learning the language and how it builds itself, is finding it actually very, it's hard to explain. It's almost like inside my ear inside my brain, that the two are actually not so far apart from each other. So it's kind of like, and the humility of doing both at the same time feels like the right thing. And then, I know it seems so totally naive, but it's as an artist I allow myself that. And I don't feel like I don't need to prove anything. It's a kind of a pleasure, like to actually, when I started to be able to identify the Armenian characters, the actually able to read and how things are. It's like a gesture, right? So music is gesture, and this language has its both acoustic and visual gesture, and I feel just another layer. Like, I'm not that I'm going to become more Armenian, but it is. I don't know what I'm seeking. Like, what is the lineage? I don't know. So, and then like I was saying, like when I'm writing the music, I feel like I'm listening to the folkloric stuff. I feel like I'm there. I had the same thing when I was playing Gomadas. The feeling of being in a village, or smelling that air, or feeling that light. Like, but again, it's like it's an artistic indulgence in a weird way. These types of layers of imagination. But I like, why not? I don't. Nobody. And my mother also asked the same thing. So like, my mother didn't teach me Armenian. It's like, why? Like, who are you learning Armenian? But who knows why? Do I need to know why? I'm spending, like, I'm okay dedicating an hour and a half every week, and I find it interesting to be amongst a group of other adults. So most of the other people are in their 20s or 30s who are learning Armenian too for other reasons. Like, some of them are part Armenian, some of them, they speak a mixture of Turkish, Greek, Armenian, and it's all mixed up. Some of them can read it, but they don't know how to speak it. Like, they all have a different history around the language, and I love that we're all together kind of just, there's no purpose. Like, does it have to have a purpose? I mean, learning another language, But this one somehow is perhaps connected to some part of me.
Yeah, I see. In the place you grew up, there is an ocean. And I always have, maybe I haven't grown up next to the ocean, that's why, and maybe we don't have sea in Armenia, that's why I give more importance to the sea and to the ocean, I don't know. But I always had this feeling that the people growing up next to the ocean, they are different. So the sounds of ocean, it really has this power, as I think, for the creative people.
This is an important question, because I love being on the ocean. I love being in the ocean. When I turned 50, my gift to myself was to learn how to scuba dive so I could go into the ocean and look underneath it. And then when I go there, I kayak all the time. And the ocean is all of our, in a weird way, it is our mother, right? We all come on some very basic level from the ocean, from our ancient history. And yes, the largeness of it, the way it moves, the way it always changes. I wonder too, when I go to Armenia, and it's all going to be about what I believe, mountain, sky, light, air. I'm excited by that idea of it being in a really large space. When you're on the ocean, you're also in a really large space. So it's about air, light, whatever. But there's movement with the mountain. I guess there's wind. But I don't know how to answer, except that it is very much part of my childhood, and it was a safe place, and I would walk by the ocean all the time.
And I noticed that you love photography, doing photography, and in every photo there is a sense of nature. And what are you doing with piano? I don't understand very well because I'm not a specialist. My ears are just ordinary ears. But I love what are you doing, and I always have this feeling that you are so sensitive to nature that you are taking all these sounds from the nature, and that's why I also mentioned the ocean and your photography. Is it?
You're
true,
right.
or?
It's very true. Yeah, because actually, even some of the pieces where I am distorting the sound of the piano through what's called the pitch bending, I actually, for me, it felt like the swells of the ocean. So that there is one piece that really does feel like that, or sometimes I feel like there's a certain stillness, or the sound of a bird, or But actually, I wonder if I should. It's so strange to make abstractions of nature, but it's very much part of. It makes me. I think we're such a human-centric world, and I think it's really important to be in nature and just realize that we're not. We're part of this larger thing, and so when I'm, for example, anxious. Which is very internally human. If I go for a walk, or especially, then I feel so much better because the world feels it's just so expansive. Being in nature is a very expansive feeling. So yes, it does inform me.
Could you please tell, with a simple words, what are you doing, especially with piano?
Because maybe I'll talk about what it sounds like. So the piano. The piano hasn't changed for a very long time. I love playing the piano. But sometimes the piano, other instruments can do things that I wish a piano could do. So for example, if you play the violin, you can get louder, you can do a vibrato for expression, you can also change your pitch a little bit if you're a singer, you can do inflections like this. Or you can, how, again, violinists can reveal the harmonic overtones by lightly. So all these things pianists can't do. And I was thinking, well, okay, I have this opportunity to work with a programmer. I worked with this programmer at Avatar in Quebec. I said, well, I would like to, using technology, see if I can reveal a ghost piano while I'm playing that can do these things. And so when you're with these compositions, I am playing the piano, but at the same time, I can bring in this ghost piano, like a shadow.
Right.
So or you're hearing two pianos. And so the basis for this other sound, and I'll try to say it clearly, like a piano. Once you play a piano note, you can't change it. You strike it, and it goes away. With this model piano, so that means a piano that is artificial, I have created something called infinite sustain. So again, with a singer or violinist, you can keep playing. Like they keep bowing the string, or you keep air, or like a duduk, that circular breathing, it just keeps going. Piano can't do that. So with the model piano, I have the possibility of infinite. And then, but when it's infinite, I can change it. So as a real piano dies away, the ghost piano or shadow piano or model piano, the artificial piano keeps going and changes the sound. And then I also am working with pre-recorded sound. So I have another piece where I have voice. So a pianist or most musicians always wish that they were singers. So I'm exploring a piece where while I'm playing, I can bring in a voice. So it's the same note, but then you hear the voice come out. Or in my Armenian piece, I have a duduk or kanun or like oud. It's very fun. So while I'm playing, all of a sudden you hear the oud. Usually these things cannot be done on a real acoustic piano. So the technology allows us today, and through hiring a specialist, to do this. And that's what I'm having fun with.
So, what is the most important thing you think you have done in your profession?
Oh, that's a really big question. well, first of all, I've been very grateful, unbelievably grateful, to be associated with this instrument. I've had a really great journey as an artist. First as a child playing standard repertoire, and then the instrument allowed me to just study in Europe on scholarship, and then I'm meeting really wonderful composers who wrote music for me. So that's kind of a wonderful thing when you get to know somebody very well and they know you, and it's almost like somebody making a piece of clothing specifically for you. It's like this thing of love, and then you go on stage and you play it and you record it, and that so I've recorded many compositions that have been written for me. I don't know if I can say what's the most important. I mean, for me right now, I felt like it was just part of, I don't know. So my journey went from classical music to playing music of my time and things that were written for me, which was really important, again, for me to keep the instrument present in our time, because I'm a living pianist. But strangely, this might seem so radical what I'm saying, but actually I'm really a traditional pianist. In the old days, pianists used to write for themselves. They would, in the old days, Mozart would know the performer that he wrote for, but we have this disassociation now, like where we have the repertoire repeated and repeated and repeated, and not a lot of movement forward, and that's just strange. In concert music, in other art forms, contemporary is normal, but in concert music, it's not normal, and it's kind of it's just sad. But as an individual, I feel connected to, again, possibly from my parents and my upbringing, that the contemporary is very important. Not that the tradition is bad.
The
two should be embraced.
I understand what you mean.
But what's the most important thing? I think I'm moving into a really important part of my career by writing for myself. And now and it's really strange, as I'm writing for myself, I'm not finding any walls. Like I feel like the compositions, because I started really composing during COVID when I couldn't tour, the composition is becoming better. So the last composition, which is the Armenian one, I think is, even though I'm doing this concert with everything, it seems to be getting better. And I have already idea for the next, like it feels like it's flowing. So I might not have got there yet, but I don't know. Like you could say my ultimate is all these recordings of music by living composers, which which I'm very grateful, have been very well received, but I feel like I'm on a new thing now. But I don't want to walk away from the old either. I just, but again, because of COVID, it's hard to know what will be available as a performer. We're still so behind. Like presenters are still, presenting stuff that they were contracted.
Speaking about COVID, what it has changed, you think, in the strategy of art, maybe, or in the methodology of art, presenting of the art? I mean, cultural people, creative people live in the time when they have limited opportunities to present themselves because of these restrictions, or this is a new opportunity to create something different.
Well, I've taken it as an opportunity to create something different, because yes, if I were waiting to perform through this whole time, it is depressing. And the online presence of music for me is difficult. I think it's great when now, I think, like for example, here, if this combination of live and streamed, it opens the possibility for a larger audience to know your work. But as a performer, every performer is living, to perform live, that feeling with connection with your audience, you can't. It's very hard to get on.
You don't
internet.
Feel this, yes.
Yeah, but we've lost a lot, and we're going to have to build it again. That feeling of connection and trust, right? Because audiences go into a theater now with their masks on and all these tests, and they have to feel. They're going to have to get used to feeling comfortable in that situation. I mean, I don't know. Are your audiences large or small, or how are they doing? I mean,
you're planning to go to visit Armenia, and I know that this journey for you, this is the first time you will be in Armenia, and also this is a somehow professional visit. So you combine, yes, we say combine two very important things for you together. And could you please tell me why it is important for you, for what you are waiting for, and what is the first feeling or even vision, even image when you say Armenia and you imagine this?
Well, first of all, I'm very grateful to meet the two of you, because the feeling that you give me, like you're true Armenians, you're not diasporic Armenians, is different than diasporic Armenians. So there's a difference. So diasporic Armenians, you have a very positive energy.
Thank you.
And very strong, and you have a love for Armenia, because that's very clear. So that is an interesting thing for me. What I expect, I think there are a few really weird things. It'll be interesting for me to be amongst people who look like me, like just like a bunch of them. That sounds very basic, but I mean, small, dark-haired, whatever. And I'd like to see the color of the buildings. I'd like to get a sense of the like I said, the light, the air, the landscape, the mountains, the lakes, the churches. So like when I said the land, I guess that's the kind of the most ancient, and then the architecture both present and the churches or the whatever more present, and then obviously the modern people who are occupying it. And the purpose of the trip, I think I want to keep it quite abstract. I think at first, I don't know how much I can expect, right? I mean, is to figure out what is happening for contemporary music, how influenced it is by Russia, how much is like truly whatever true Armenian means, I don't know. To find if there are any creators who I'd like to collaborate with, and possibly to share what I'm doing. But that's kind of the end thing, because I didn't actually know that I would be creating work with. So that's a lot. Like I can't push things.
It's kind of research project. Yeah.
So to hear things and to
So after research, for example, you did a huge research and you found whatever you wanted. What are you going to do with this research?
Well, for example, if I find composers whose work I really want to play, I would do a concert of contemporary Armenian piano repertoire. I mean, there was this idea, but somebody gave me a bunch of scores from the diaspora. I'd like to do a concert of diasporic Armenian music. I mean, that is interesting, because of course if you have an Armenian within an Arabic culture, they're going to pick up whatever that is, and then and I guess in Armenia it might be maybe I just accept it, like the history of the Armenian. I don't know what to say. I mean, like, am I looking for like what is pure Armenian? I mean, or do I just accept that it's now so mixed with other influences, and just accept that and do a concert which is about diaspora and the influence. It's like I said, it was also important for me for gender balance, like so that it's a mixture of women and men composers. It's just really important for me across the board as a performer that the representation is equal. So I don't really know.
And you will be in Armenia nearly in April and May, yes?
Well, it depends. Like the thing between Gassia and my daughter, like these are two different things. Or maybe we go more than once, because she is graduating this year. It could be a really wonderful graduation.
You mean present. Your friend, yes, who will accompany you?
She would like to go in April.
I'm talking for recording, just to
my
fix
friend
it.
Who would like to accompany me says April, but if I would like to take my daughter, who is interested in her own way, in her culture, or this part of her culture, she would like to go to Armenia for sure. It's very clear.
Yeah.
For what reason too is I mean, I think for anyone who's not born on that land, you don't really know if it is a part of yourself that you need to know about. And so it's kind of like it's the same thing when I'm learning the language. It's like I feel like there's this timidity, but I'm interested and I like it. Like, I mean, some part of my because the language in a weird way creates the way the brain thinks, right? Like you might not know about how it's structured or whatever. So sort of by learning the language, I feel like I'm thinking a little bit more like somebody, like an Armenian, as opposed to, you know, and if I start speaking it, then my whole body, it will inhabit it differently, like how I move my mouth and my breath. Like, I mean, it's hard to really define what knowing a mother tongue, what that means. I don't know, but it is like, yeah.
I feel also this, I guess this is a feeling somehow like your body needs to know the music of your native language and somehow to feel these nuances of this music, you should know the language.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, did feel very strange when I was, and this is where it's taking apart these songs from different regions. I was wondering if Armenians would be angry that I did this. Like, so I was taking songs, but I was just taking chunks of it and developing a fabric, like a patchwork. The other interesting thing too for me is because my mother, who is getting older, probably the last language she'll forget is Armenian. So as I'm learning Armenian, as she's losing her memory, it's an interesting thing. Like, I will be able to potentially speak to my mother. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, Eve. Yeah. And she knows that you're going also to Armenia?
She does, but she doesn't remember. So it's kind of like this, but like I said, it was hilarious how she doesn't really, you know, for her, being Armenian, it was complicated because I think, and this is interesting for me, I think she just found it in her generation, diasporic, unbelievably restrictive society for women. Yeah. And also because she was avant-garde, I think it was very crushing. Like, she doesn't have any interest, I shouldn't say this, but for her, I think Armenian culture is not an open place as a woman. Yeah. I understand that in Armenia, that is a very different thing, but she was born in Egypt, which was extremely chauvinistic, right? Yeah. So that her association with being Armenian is not fully positive.
That's why she wanted to protect you from this, from what she passed through, yeah?
Yeah, and it's kind of tricky for me because my brother's fame, because again, this is a gender thing, as well as the fact that I'm Adam Egoyan's sister. I'm very proud. I love my brother. But I also play, so that is tricky because already there's an imbalance, which is partially gender. He is the firstborn Armenian son. And then also there's a tricky thing, which is I play a classical instrument, and playing it in a contemporary way is also not embraced. So that's why I'm not expecting a lot from my journey to Armenia as an artist. I feel like I bring a complicated history, even though I know who I am and I know what I bring to my instrument, and I know, like, I just know, I know who I am. So, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, for my mother, it's funny. Because I think also for immigrants, status is super important. And I think what happens within a community like an Armenian community, like it's like becomes this weird game. Like, I remember when my mother we would go to weddings, it's like the amount of jewelry, like the women are all like it's all like about, or for her generation, is like how you present yourself, you know. And anyway, it's different now, but I think it was very hard for her.
And could you please add some information to this talk about your concert, which is going to be in Royal Conservatory of Music, because you know this will be published before this concert, and many Armenians living here in Toronto would love to know about this concert, what it is about, how it will look like. So
how it will look like, I don't know. So I believe the format, because of COVID, is just no intermission, a concert. How it will look like, I might introduce things verbally a little bit because of what I'm doing is unusual. But the tricky thing is how to talk about the use of technology that doesn't make people only think about the technology that's involved. All the pieces are at the piano, but they all extend the piano in a way that we're not used to hearing. And so it's all about that adventure, because over the last year and a half, I've been creating new works for this newly imagined piano. So it's, whether, and they're all based on what I really wanted to hear, and the compositions are based on where these new sounds wanted to be in a composition. So, so every piece touches on a different landscape, and they're totally new landscapes. So, and sometimes they are, you'll hear the piano for quite a while, and then something will just color it that's not quite right. Some of them are much more all about the new sounds, and some of them reveal the sound of a voice coming out of a piano, or the sound of a traditional Armenian instrument coming out of the piano. So it's so strange. I feel, and maybe this is because I'm Armenian, that I am haunted. I am haunted by this past that I know nothing about, or I'm haunted by this idea of my parents, my father in particular, his parents' experience of the genocide, being orphans. I'm haunted, and in a weird way, I haunt the piano with my own soul, as I play. But I'm haunting the piano on another level by matching it with other sounds. So it's a complicated relationship. But anyway, but there is this feeling of inhabiting an instrument. Like when you hear a musician play an instrument, they're inhabiting their instrument, right? They're inside it. So when I play the piano, I've been playing for so long. It is my best friend. So it's but it's so strange because it's this thing. It's like a feedback loop. It's like an echo chamber, right? Because it's me, it's me, it's it. My body is there, and then I bring in yet another piano into the conversation, or another voice inside the conversation, or another instrument into the conversation. It's like many layers. Yeah.
If you told me wonderful things about music and about your experience working with music, and it is so meaningful for me. Thank you so much for this talk, for this interview.
Thank
really.
You very much for
and
the
if you
questions.
If there is something you would like to add, you are more than welcome.
You have a call coming in.